Somebody told you years ago that a certain color didn't suit you. Maybe it was a saleswoman, maybe a friend meaning well, maybe just a moment in a fitting room mirror that stuck with you longer than it should have. So you quietly and quite permanently stopped reaching for it altogether after that. You built your entire closet around the same safe handful of neutrals instead, the ones that never draw a second look from anyone, good or bad, in any direction. And somewhere along the way, you began to notice that photos of yourself looked a little more tired than you actually felt inside, a little older too, and you honestly couldn't quite explain why that kept happening. Here's something genuinely, honestly worth knowing right now before we go any further together. It was almost certainly never about color itself as a whole category in the way you assumed. It was about one specific color, worn in one specific way, at a moment when your skin, your hair, and your entire natural coloring had already begun quietly shifting on their own, without your input. This video is specifically made for petite women over the age of 60 living in the United States, because so much of the color advice circulating out there was genuinely written for a much younger complexion or for a body with plenty of room to spare that a smaller, more petite frame simply doesn't have to work with. We're going through 6 real color mistakes together, one at a time and in careful order, covering muddy neutrals, all black outfits worn head to toe, colors worn too bright and too saturated, colors that no longer match your own current undertone, and how color itself can quietly shorten you if it's placed on your body the wrong way, in exactly the wrong spot. This is genuinely not a promise that any single color will make you look years younger or somehow reverse anything about your actual appearance. It's simply a practical, honest way to understand which colors are genuinely, truly working for the face and body you actually have today, right now, in this present moment, not decades ago. And the very last piece of all, the one we're deliberately saving for the very end, is the single master test that finally tells you, for any color at all, whether it genuinely belongs in your own closet or not, without ever needing anyone else's opinion on the matter, ever again. So let's start right now, together, with the very first color category almost every single woman reaches for first, convinced deep down that it's genuinely the safest choice there is, without ever really stopping to question whether that's still true for her today. Number 6, the muddy neutral mistake. Picture the color you reach for most often, the one sitting in your closet in 3 or 4 versions, the safe taupe, the dull beige, the muddy khaki that never quite reads as anything specific at all. It feels responsible and practical. It matches everything you own. It never risks looking wrong to anyone. Here is what almost nobody honestly ever tells you about that particular category of color. As your skin gradually softens over the years and your hair naturally lightens or turns to gray, those flat, undefined neutrals stop creating any real contrast against you at all anymore. Instead of framing your face the way a genuinely true neutral should, they simply blend directly into your complexion instead, and the overall result reads as tired rather than polished, washed out rather than put together. The genuine, honest fix here is not avoiding neutrals altogether, not ever again. It is simply choosing a neutral with a genuine point of view instead, one with a touch more warmth or a touch more coolness, whichever direction actually contrasts your own skin, rather than one that sits flat and undefined in the middle. Here is a simple, practical way to check this yourself at home before buying anything at all. Hold the garment up near your face in natural daylight and ask honestly whether it creates any visible separation between the fabric and your skin, or whether the two colors seem to blur together into one indistinct muddy tone. If they blur together, that particular neutral is working against you quietly every single time you wear it out into the world, without you ever fully realizing it. Try swapping a muddy beige for a warmer camel tone instead, or a flat gray for a cooler charcoal, and notice how much more defined your face suddenly looks in the mirror almost immediately. Once you genuinely understand that neutrals need real contrast just as much as bright colors do, the next mistake becomes easier to spot. because it involves the exact opposite problem entirely, hiding behind one single unbroken shade worn head to toe every single day of the week. Number 5, the all-black mistake. Black genuinely feels like the ultimate safe choice, the one single color that supposedly slims, elevates, and never truly goes wrong no matter what happens. So it genuinely becomes the automatic default option. Worn head to toe, jacket to shoe, the same reliable formula reached for again and again, without a second thought ever really crossing your mind at all. Here is what that particular formula quietly and genuinely does once you're actually well past 60. Your own features have naturally softened quite considerably over time, and a single unbroken block of black creates a stark, hard-edged frame around a face that no longer genuinely needs that much contrast working directly against it every day. Instead of genuinely elevating anything at all, that much black concentrated in one single place can flatten your natural coloring considerably and make your entire face genuinely look tired rather than defined and genuinely awake. The genuine, honest fix here isn't giving up on black entirely ever again no matter what. It's simply breaking it up deliberately and intentionally, especially near your own face where the contrast genuinely matters the very most of all. A lighter scarf worn at the neck, a cream blouse underneath, a pair of pearl or gold earrings, any of these small additions introduce a genuine point of warmth that softens the overall effect without ever abandoning the actual color you genuinely love wearing. Try this simple approach the very next time you genuinely reach for all black. Add just one single lighter element specifically near your own face, and then step back very carefully to compare how your complexion honestly reads with it versus completely without it. Notice honestly whether your features suddenly look more awake and considerably more genuinely defined once there's something actively breaking up that solid, unbroken block of dark color. This one small, simple adjustment genuinely changes how every single all-black outfit you already own actually reads on you. But black worn as a single unbroken block of color is only half of the entire color story, because the exact opposite mistake instead, color worn too bright and too saturated, causes just as much trouble in the completely other direction entirely. Number 4, the overly saturated color mistake. On the completely opposite end of that exact same color spectrum sits a genuinely different mistake entirely in the other direction. A single, intensely saturated color worn from head to toe, the kind of bright fuchsia or electric turquoise that photographs beautifully hanging on a rack in a store, but somehow feels like an actual theatrical costume the moment you actually put the whole finished outfit on together all at once in front of a mirror. Here is genuinely why that particular thing actually happens to almost everyone. A softened, mature complexion generally reads its best against color that genuinely supports it rather than actively competing with it for attention. One extremely saturated color worn with absolutely nothing at all in place to balance it pulls attention away from your face entirely and genuinely turns your whole outfit into the main event instead of your own actual expression and personality. This genuinely, truly doesn't mean avoiding bright color altogether forever, not ever again. It simply means genuinely, honestly using intense saturation as one deliberate accent instead, rather than as the entire outfit all at once. A bright color blouse worn quietly underneath a neutral jacket, or a saturated accessory paired carefully against a calmer neutral base, lets that same vibrant shade genuinely do its intended job properly without ever overwhelming everything else about you and your appearance. Try this simple little comparison test for yourself at home right now. Put on a fully saturated outfit in one bold, intense color first, and then look carefully in the mirror. Then swap out most of it for something considerably more neutral instead, keeping just one single saturated piece deliberately behind as the intended accent color. Notice honestly how that second version genuinely draws the eye toward your own face specifically, rather than toward the color itself sitting there entirely on its own, demanding attention. Once you genuinely, truly understand that saturation, just like darkness, genuinely needs a real counterbalance somewhere within the outfit, you're finally, genuinely ready for a mistake that has nothing at all to do with brightness or darkness, and everything to do with whether your own chosen color actually genuinely matches your own current coloring in the first place, right now, today. Number 3, the wrong undertone mistake. You genuinely found a color many decades ago that worked beautifully for you. A warm brick red, a golden mustard, a rich chestnut brown, and you built a whole piece of your entire wardrobe around it completely. You never had any real reason to genuinely question it because for years and years it simply always looked right on you. Here is what actually genuinely changed quietly underneath you, entirely without your permission. As hair genuinely grays and gradually lightens over time, the overall temperature of your entire natural coloring often shifts noticeably cooler, even when your own skin itself genuinely hasn't changed all that dramatically over the years. A warm shade that once genuinely harmonized beautifully with darker hair can now sit against silver or gray hair like a completely mismatched note in a song, suddenly reading as slightly off and out of place, rather than flattering the way it once genuinely did years earlier. This genuinely isn't about switching to an entirely new color palette overnight all at once, ever. It's simply about honestly testing your existing favorites against your own current hair and skin, not the hair and skin you actually had many years ago when you first fell in love with that particular shade. Here's a simple, practical way to check this for yourself. Hold two versions of a similar color, one genuinely warmer and one genuinely cooler, up next to your own face in real natural daylight, and notice honestly which one your skin seems to welcome and which one it seems to actively fight against instead. The genuinely flattering option will look like it belongs there naturally. The other option will look like it's simply sitting on top of you instead, uninvited. If your own old warm favorites are quietly losing that particular fight, shifting deliberately toward the genuinely cooler side of that exact same color family, a berry instead of a brick red, a soft gold shade instead of a bright mustard, can restore that same natural harmony almost instantly. Getting your own undertone right genuinely solves quite a great deal, but it still doesn't address how color, placed the wrong way somewhere on your body, can quietly work against your own height, which is exactly where we're headed together next, in careful, real detail. Number 2, the color block proportion mistake. Here's a genuinely different mistake entirely that has nothing to do with which specific colors you personally choose and everything to do with exactly where you actually split them on your own body. A dark top paired with a much lighter bottom or the complete reverse combination creates a hard, unmistakable horizontal line exactly at your natural waist, the precise point where a petite frame can least afford any real visual break of any kind at all. That particular horizontal line genuinely does something quite specific to your entire silhouette overall. It genuinely divides your whole entire body into two separate blocks instead of one continuous line, and on a genuinely shorter, more petite frame specifically, that division reads as shortening rather than genuinely defining anything at all. The eye simply stops right at that color change instead of traveling smoothly all the way down the entire length of your body. The genuine, honest fix here is thinking carefully about real color continuity, not merely color choice sitting there in complete isolation. Wearing just one single chosen color or several closely related tones together from shoulder all the way down to hem creates one genuinely unbroken vertical line instead of two entirely competing blocks fighting each other visually. This genuinely doesn't mean that everything has to match exactly, right down to the very last small detail. Soft variations within that exact same color family, a navy top paired with slightly deeper navy pants underneath, still genuinely read as one continuous vertical line rather than a hard, obvious split right in the middle. Check this genuinely, honestly for yourself in a full-length mirror at home right now. Look carefully at any outfit with a strong, obvious color change right at the waist, then swap out one piece for something considerably closer in tone to the other. And notice honestly how much longer your whole silhouette suddenly appears once you make that change. Once you genuinely understand that color can either interrupt your own line or genuinely truly extend it instead, you're finally ready for the final piece of this entire video, the one that genuinely takes everything we've covered together so far, contrast, saturation, undertone, and placement, and turns it into a single, repeatable test you can run on any single color at all, anytime you want, before it ever comes home with you and enters your closet permanently. Number 1, the personal color confidence test. Everything we've genuinely covered together so far in this video, muddy neutrals, all black outfits, oversaturation, undertone, and color placement, actually points toward one single powerful question you can ask about any color at all before you ever buy it. Does this particular color genuinely work with my own body today, or was it chosen for some earlier version of me that no longer genuinely exists anymore at all? Here's genuinely how to actually run that entire test in real practice, one careful step at a time. Hold the color up close to your own face in real, genuine, natural daylight, the exact same way we discussed together earlier, and check honestly for genuine contrast against your own skin. Notice very carefully whether it genuinely leans warm or genuinely cool overall, and compare that honestly and directly to your current hair color, not the hair color you used to genuinely have many years ago. Consider very carefully whether you're genuinely wearing it as one single saturated element only, or instead as an overwhelming block covering absolutely everything. And finally, check very carefully where it actually sits on your own body, making absolutely sure it isn't creating a hard, unwanted break exactly at your own natural waist somewhere. This genuinely isn't meant to be a rigid formula demanding 5 entirely separate calculations every single time you happen to get dressed. Once you've genuinely run through this whole entire process consciously a handful of times, your own eye genuinely starts recognizing the correct answer almost instantly, the exact same way you already genuinely recognize when a hem or a sleeve simply falls in the right proper place on your body, without ever really needing to measure it first at all. This is genuinely the real, actual, meaningful difference between avoiding color entirely out of some old advice you never once questioned and choosing color instead based on genuine, current, real information about your own face and body right now. A simple rule someone happened to give you many years ago only ever tells you what worked for one particular version of yourself, back then, at that specific time. This particular test instead genuinely tells you what actually honestly works for you right now, standing in the mirror, today, in this present, current moment of your life. That is genuinely, honestly, the whole entire point of this video, from start to finish. Not another list of colors to permanently avoid forever, but a real, repeatable way for you to genuinely know, entirely for yourself, which specific colors are actually, truly, and honestly yours right now at this exact stage of your own life. Conclusion: so the very next time you reach for that same safe neutral, or hesitate before buying something with real, genuine color in it, remember what we genuinely covered together today. It was never actually about avoiding color entirely. It was about contrast, saturation, undertone, and placement, and now you know exactly what to check every single time. Hold it up to your own face in real daylight. Notice honestly whether it flatters your current hair and skin, not the version of you from many years ago. Check whether it's genuinely balanced rather than overwhelming. Look carefully at where it actually sits on your body. Tell us honestly in the comments which of these 6 mistakes you recognized in your own closet, and if this genuinely changed how you'll shop for color from now on. Subscribe. There's genuinely more of this waiting for you right here.